Well, hey guys, welcome back to Let's Be Blunt with Montel. I'm your host, Montel William, and today our episode takes us to the state of New Jersey that's carving out its own identity in the cannabis market with moves that could set the pace for the rest of the nation. We're going to take a deep dive into what it really takes to make it in New Jersey, in the New Jersey cannabis industry, and who better to guide us through this trailblazer, this whole thing will be a trailblazer herself, Tara Misu Sargente. Tara is not only the founder of Blazin Bakery in New Jersey's first legal edibles company, but she also is the co-author of the New Jersey's 2019 medical marijuana bill, an edibles expert and a powerhouse and advocate for small cannabis businesses throughout the state of New Jersey. Tara, welcome to Let's Be Blunt with Montel. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you, Montel. I'm so excited to be here, and thank you for the great introduction.
Sure, absolutely. Look, why don't you give us a little bit of a history first? Tell me a little bit about your incredible background. It's diverse, from being a designer and a branding specialist to a leading voice in the cannabis industry. Can you share how this transition came about? Where are you from first? Are you from New Jersey?
I am, and I'd love to talk about later. I have a very full circle journey of opening in my hometown, and actually on the street I grew up on. So,
oh wow! Well, let's do that. Let's go through the whole thing. Start what was the street that you grew up on? Where was it at?
Water Street in South River, New Jersey, is where I grew up. It's kind of an industrial area, so that's why a lot of the cannabis zones are on the sides of town. Industrial areas, that's where they zoned my town. So we'll get with that, but where I started. So I grew up there, and then I went to college in New York. I went to Fordham and was doing theater. And my mother said, if you keep doing this, I'm not paying for college.
She said, get a real job. No, don't play it.
So I picked it's funny, people get into cannabis and they think they're doing this big risk, this edgy thing. This was my fallback plan. I said, you know what? I'll just start a cannabis empire. That'll be fine.
There you go. Come on. Well, it's very interesting because, Jersey was one of the first states that I did some real serious advocacy for back when Governor Corzine was the governor. And a lot of people don't know, or you probably do know, that Governor Corzine did sign the first cannabis bill. And that got ignored for 12 years or 10 years before, it was resurfaced again. And then your former governor actually reluctantly signed the current bill, and that got ignored for a while. And then finally New Jersey's been a robust market for medical cannabis, but has kind of gone back and forth, and it's taken a while. So, you started off, honestly, not thinking about cannabis. You were working as a branding person and working in...
Yeah, so the major I picked was graphic design. So I started working in branding and marketing, which kind of led me to be good at designing packaging, building a website, a lot of the things you would need for a cannabis brand. And when I was in my 20s, I had a boyfriend who got pancreatitis and he couldn't drink anymore, so I didn't drink with him. But we were still looking to do something to have fun, so I got really into experimenting with cannabis and extraction and different methods. And at this time, so I started in 2009, which was a lifetime ago in cannabis. I've been based in New Jersey for 15 years. I know you've been doing it longer, but there's not many. So when I made these brownies that turned out really well, he told his friends, and my friends told their friends and friends' friends. And I was like, all right, I want to be a pot brownie drug dealer, but let me see if I could build the mousetrap so people can do this at home. And now if you go on YouTube, there's a million, how to make a pot brownie videos. At the time, the knowledge base wasn't there. Right. So it was me operating in a very illegal environment and experimenting and trying to really, in a medical way, get research from people and say, here, can you eat this brownie, give me the effects, the time of onset, all these things. And, it's a rough thing, but we developed what I thought was a really good brownie recipe, optimized for THC absorption, to help it go through your system faster. And it was great. And then I made a YouTube video of it, and that went viral for the time because there was nothing out there.
Sure.
So that product is kind of what put me on the map. I went around the country advocating, selling it at festivals. And then in 2014, no, earlier than that. But anyway, I was at a convention and Spencer Gifts came up to me, the store at the mall with cannabis novelties. And I started to give them my pitch, and they said, "Stop. We know who you are. We want the product." So then it was available at that point with smoke shops, over 2,000 stores in 3 countries.
Well, see, but I'm trying to understand how you say it was available in 2,000 stores and 3,000. It just doesn't make sense because, first off, how can you export a cannabis product?
So it's
You're exporting a product that you add cannabis to, correct?
Yes. So
Gotcha.
it's an ancillary non-plant touching product. So it can even go through customs into another country. I've had sales all over the world. Yeah, so that product is now I'm opening a facility to make actual plant touching, legal, regulated products. But this is my backstory, and that's how I got my start. Is in the
Sure,
ancillary
and
market. Yeah.
I would venture to ask that when you say you're looking into doing plant touching cannabis products right now, because of the way the laws are, you would end up having to have a manufacturing facility in each individual state that sells cannabis, correct? And each country that sells cannabis, right? Well, no, you wouldn't have to do that. You could probably go outside of the United States to a single country and then export from there, but you can't export from the United States with cannabis in it, correct?
So I think I might pick like one beautiful tropical island to expand to so I could visit. But aside from that, I'm just keeping it in the US short term. What I really wanted to do was launch in New Jersey. That meant a lot to me. Though if I had to do it again, I don't know that I would do that because, when Governor Murphy got in, he vowed to do it in 100 days, which ended up being 4 years. But, it always just feels like one more year, one more year. So maybe I would have launched in California or Colorado, but I didn't. And it meant a lot to me to launch here. So I have been approved for a manufacturing license, which should be open in a couple months. So the journey has taken me to here. It's going to be the same brand, Blazin Bakery. That's my company. And that was what was in Spencer's. So I will probably open the factory here, get our protocols, everything set. And then I'll probably just do licensing deals with other companies in the US. I'm sure you know that's a very common way to expand to get around the interstate commerce prohibition, the federal illegality. And maybe a second location somewhere. Sometimes distributors will do, east, west, and central. But I don't feel the need to have a license in every state. I think that would be for manufacturing very redundant at a certain point.
Sure. So maybe just hook up with an MSO that's already got the licenses in multiple states and license your product to them so that they could then make it in each state, right? Something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that. I don't know if I would go with just one big MSO deal. I think it would be nice to maybe work with some independent operators in other states. That's a big thing I like to support is small businesses. I created the micro license. That was my favorite part of legislation that I got to contribute to our state. And the social equity pieces for women, minorities, and disabled veterans were something I advocated for very strongly. So if I had the opportunity to help out small businesses in other states, I would love that. If the opportunity was not available, then of course, you can always fall back on MSO partnerships.
Sure. Let's go back for a second and talk a little bit more because you just pointed to the shirt, but talk a little bit more about Blazin Bakery. I mean, what sparked? I mean, you had the brownies and people were starting. It's very funny because I will tell you, I go back to 2001, 2002, back at a time when we were fledgling. Only about 18 states, 19 states had some form of medical cannabis. There weren't any record states back then, and I was making some small those little tiny cupcakes, making them myself in my own kitchen, and literally. I had thought about it, but I just thought it was just so onerous. Now I think about it, I wish I would have, but it just seemed like it was going to be a nightmare trying to move that forward. And people didn't have the knowledge back then in 2001, 2002, 2003 about the effects of cannabis, especially edibles. People were very, very leery of them. And I was making some brownies or some cupcakes that were literally, I would give out one, and I'd give out maybe five, and one person out of five would run to an emergency room because they thought they were dying. It was like, come on, man. And honestly, I was dosing pretty heavily, but for me, it seemed like they were just benign. But for others, they were, I was putting people down. When you first started making the first group and first round and just sharing it with friends, did you have any weird experiences then?
Yeah, people love to come up to tell me the story where they ate an edible, thought it didn't work, ate a second or third edible, and then it all hit him at once. And, we saw the big level. So,
Yeah, I don't know how many times I got that from friends. I would give them these little cupcakes. I tell them all. I would say it. Listen to me. Cut it in half. Eat half of it. Do not eat the other half for at least 30 minutes. And of course, these fools would eat one half, wait 5 minutes, eat another half, wait 5 minutes, eat another half, 5 minutes, eat another whole. And then they call me up. I said, I go to the doctor. I think I'm dying. It's like, dude, just go to sleep. Lay down. It's going to go away.
yep, tale as old as time. But I do say every time that happens, it turns someone off to edibles. So the trend was really for a long time, make it as strong as possible. You're seeing 1,000 milligram. And then people would try them once, get paranoid, have a horrible experience. Oh, edibles aren't for me. So every time that happens, I lose a customer forever, maybe.
Right.
So, the thing we've all heard, start low, go slow, accurate dosing. It's so important because edibles are, especially women prefer them for a discreet way to dose. There's no odor. You can microdose with them. I love edibles. It's always been a passion of mine, cannabis products as a whole. But the manufacturing facilities, we're going to start with chocolates, gummies, vapes, all the typical products as well. And then do the brownies. Brownies aren't actually a huge seller as they used to, but they are a great niche for nostalgia. People do enjoy a brownie. You're just going to eat one 3 times a day like you might a gummy. So I'll tell you, if it's okay with you, the story of opening in my hometown now.
Please.
Okay. So it's very difficult in New Jersey, even though our ballot passed with 70% support, we only have 30-some% of the towns who had opted in, which means they will allow cannabis sales in their town. So the area I live down the shore is a bit of a dry spot. There's not a lot around me. So my hometown, I'd advocated before because my mom, my family, they're all still there. So I sat down with, mayor, council, and really tried to tell them all the benefits it could bring to the town, small working class, and they were loving it. They were buying into that. So that was great. But I wanted to open closer where I live. I went through 3 towns and so much political corruption. I won't say which towns, but it was just, well, the mayor says this and he's up for election this and the zoning. I will say one of them, I was 394 feet from a preschool. It had to be 1,000. We were talking about as the crow flies, this, that. But the building that I wanted it to be in shared a space with a methadone clinic. So it was okay for them to operate side by side, but I couldn't have a manufacturing closed window facility 1,000 feet away. Anyway, so after multiple frustrations, a year of bouncing around different municipalities, I said, you know what, let me go back to South River and see how they feel about, taking me in, having me, write a municipal agreement. And they were wonderful. My family's been there for generations. My mother owned a hair salon. Like, it was just like coming home. And the building that was available in the zone was on Water Street, where I grew up. And now the very interesting thing to me, at least, about that is that area was decimated by Irene, Hurricane Irene, in 2011. 5 of my family members lost their homes in that.
Wow.
And then FEMA came in, gave them money to rebuild. And then just 1 year later, Superstorm Sandy came in, even worse, redestroyed everything. FEMA said, this time we're not letting you rebuild. Everyone's got to go. They bought them out and they made the land unlivable. So that was almost 12 years ago now. So for a while, 4 of my family members were displaced. They came and lived with me. Now that area has just gotten worse and worse. It's, structures are coming down. There's graffiti. It's a lot of the money rebuild the shore towns, the tourist towns. And then South River has other infrastructure issues, and they just couldn't put funding to rebuild this area, this industrial. So one thing I said, well, we can rebuild it with cannabis. So out from the lot of my building, you can see the empty lots, the one house I grew up in, and then my 5 other family homes. I can see from my facility where I spent Christmas and birthdays and all that. And we've already started to plant street trees on my block. And in New Jersey, by statute, 2% of everything I earn, top line, has to go to the town. So mine, and I share a facility, my floor, with another manufacturer, cultivator right below us. And then on the next block is a 30,000 square foot cannabis grow. So all that money, 2% of everything that we make is going to go to restore the area of the street I grew up on.
That's incredible. That's really great. I mean, you do so much. And I don't know where I want to go first. Let's slow down again for a second. You kind of went through it quickly. As you open your manufacturing facility, you are going to be creating what other kinds of products? You're not just doing edibles.
Correct. Yes. So I want to do vapes, disposables, all sorts of confectionaries, candies, things like that. Eventually, tinctures. Eventually, get into pre rolls and yeah. But I that will be like a phase 2. I'd like to make everything. There's really no cannabis product I don't have interest in. Not just bags of flour. Like I enjoy the creativity and the science behind creating customized formulation, clean products, synergistic,
The type of license that you have allows you to do everything you said. Are you in the micro license area? So in the micro license, does that just mean micro for the amount, or does that mean micro for your footprint? What does that mean?
Both. So my footprint right now is 2,500 square feet, but I have reserved space next to me for expansion because after 1 year, I can apply to expand my micro. Right now, there's only 100 dispensaries, so I don't foresee a product demand past production needs for that for the next 12 months. So when that happens, I have the space next to me as well, and that will become a larger facility. But in the meantime, I'm going to set it up as a cannabis WeWork so people can have an opportunity. If, when I was applying for my application, I mean, it's hundreds of pages and it's a hard process. And a lot of people are just sitting home alone doing it. So I thought, what if we could bring together not a consumption lounge, but an actual cannabis think tank where people could get together, share ideas, help each other out. If you need to meet an investor, there's a conference room. And even I've taken on several cannabis minor interns from Stockton University. So I said, if you want to bring interns by, something like that, you're in a building with 3 legal cannabis operations. So I think that'll be a cool thing to do in the short term. And then after that, I'll expand operations.
Gotcha. And you can, and I'm just want to make sure, because you can have a grow and a process facility, or do you have to buy your feedstock and process? Give me an idea how that works.
Yeah. So I don't grow. The cultivators, the only thing they can sell is cannabis flower. That's it. They can't even grind it up and make a pre-roll. Okay. Anything that processes has to go through me. So I want to try to make every product you would see on a dispensary shelf, aside from a bag of flour. And I'm going to start with what I know best, which is edibles and vapes. But then I am going to really, I enjoy creativity. One thing I'm known for is I used to go to events around New Jersey, festivals, things like that. And I would spin cannabis cotton candy on LED glow sticks. So people would have this blinking ball of, cannabis. So I love doing creative things like that. I really want to bring products to market that no one else has. But I've gone to California and Colorado. I've studied extraction. I get really excited by making targeted formulas. Just because it's not medical doesn't mean it can't be medicine. And I really enjoy something that has consistent results. So I want to say, okay, you're looking for something for sleep. So we're going to get you a strain that's high in CBN and linalool, and maybe we'll even pair it with a small amount of melatonin or some other type of supplement to make a holistic product. And although I'll be sourcing distillate from different manufacturers to cover anyone's needs, I also helped run the NJCBA, which is our state's largest cannabis trade organization. I served as executive director for 2 years, and I still sit on the board. So I have fantastic relationships with all the dispensaries for distribution channels and all the growers and other manufacturers, which I believe we should all be a big community because we have a common enemy, and it's not each other. So I will have lots of opportunities to source different strains. And with that, I can create rosin is what I'll be doing in-house, where you're doing a solventless extraction method using only heat and pressure, and it's whole plant medicine. So aside from just THC, you're capturing all the minor cannabinoids, the terpene profiles, the esters, and all the beautiful elements that go to making whole plant medicine and the entourage effect. So that's what I'll be doing.
Super. And that's down the road the next couple of months or so.
Yeah, probably 2-3 months we should be open. So the last thing I'm wrapping up, we have the space. The landlord's building it out. We're doing plumbing and electrical right now. And then, we just got to get it up to be food grade with some of the coatings and things like that. But I'm wrapping up a crowdfunding campaign, which I would love to tell you about if I could.
Sure, go ahead. Please, go ahead.
So it's on mainvest.com, which I was very excited because all the crowdfunding platforms out there do not accept cannabis businesses. They'll take your CBD.
Well, you may see some of that. Excuse me, some of that change over the next couple of months if the DEA finally issues its whatever they're going to issue. But I don't know how quickly that'll happen. But over the next couple of months, you may see a little bit of change. The crowdfunding, everything may change, and the funding.
I would absolutely love that. I would hope that, lowering it and not completely descheduling it will still be enough for people to lose that fear. But in the meantime, Mainvest is the only option for plant touching businesses. There's people who will do CBD, or if you want to make a vape or something like that, a vape battery, but not if you want to actually sell cannabis, which I do. So Mainvest offered this rare opportunity, and I was the only person in the state of New Jersey. There were a couple up there who were doing debt. So if you give me $1, in 5 years, I'll give you back $1.50. I didn't want to do that. I really wanted to do equity. So I'm the only campaign on there who's an equity investment. And that was really important to me for multiple reasons. One of them is I had a very bad experience with trying to get capital from investors, and I've seen others have the same. I've seen a lot of predatory lending and predatory investors where people lose their companies. People get into situations that, the other person had a $700 hour lawyer and they had a pro bono lawyer review it, and now they've lost their company because people are unscrupulous. Personally, as a female, I've just had some very negative experiences, to the effect of one time I had an investment broker say he was going to introduce me to someone, and he said to them, "Oh, you're going to love this person. This person is great." And he thought to tell me that he didn't want to say this woman, because if he knew I was a woman, he would have never taken the meeting. I said, well, that's not really someone I want to work with.
Sure.
And then one time I was at a pitch, I was in a suit giving a PowerPoint, and someone yelled out, "Nice rack." Yeah. And one of the worst ones too was a guy said, "Oh, I thought you were just some brownie girl barefoot in the kitchen." I think barefoot and pregnant. I don't know. Horrible things, but you brush it off. You're like, I'm a businesswoman. I'm here to get capital. That's on them, not me. But, then one night it turned physical. I was in a parking lot and I said I could walk myself to the car, and he didn't like that. And I was able to get him off, push away before it went too far. But I really got the impression that people thought they were buying me and not my company. So it really just, and I know there's bad apples and it's not everyone, and there's tons of great people who invest in companies and beautiful relationships. It's just, I was tired of going down that path.
Well, I gotta say to you, Tara, thank you so much for being honest, because, unfortunately, this is never going to change until there are more women like you who are willing to step up to the plate and put, the words behind the abuse. It'll be 10 years from now before people like just tell us, well, 10 years ago. Let's start talking about it right now. And, for other women that are trying their best to, achieve what you've been able to achieve, it gives them, some insight into what to look for, what to look out for. I like the fact that you are willing to help others look out. You know what I mean? And so many others are going, well, you'll figure it out. Well, bullshit. It's, why do I have to go through nefarious crap to learn what has been learned? And the fact that you're willing to share it, I really applaud you for that.
Thank you so much. And on the converse side of that, with some positivity, I go to conferences for over a decade now, all over the US. I speak, I'm on panels, I meet people, thousands and thousands of people, and they're wonderful. And, they have a passion for this industry. They know cannabis culture. They want to be involved. Now, a lot of them don't have the resources, the time, the money to go after a license, quit their job, follow their passion, do all the things you have to do. And it really is a full commitment of your life to open a cannabis facility. But they would love to be involved. But a law we have in America to protect people also at the same time cuts people out is that to be an investor, a private investor, you need to make either $200,000 a year or have a net worth of $1 million. It's called being an accredited investor. Now, a lot of these people I meet at conferences would not qualify for that. It's a mom who has a edibles line that she's been working on and she just wants to take that to market. Or just people who are looking they can go on Robinhood and buy stocks in any company, but they can't get early stage investments, which is usually where the money is made. By the time a cannabis stock is on like the Canadian exchange, the real money's been made by the early stage investors.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I wanted my company, instead of keep going around and, dog and pony show to all these rich people, I said, why don't I just have the people I meet and love every day who are passionate about cannabis and ask them to invest in my company? And it starts at $500, which this is unprecedented. I had to do an equity offering so these people could come up to me in shows and say, Tara, I own part of Blazin Bakery, or Green Alchemy is the plant touching company. And here's what I think of your products. Here's my ideas. So Mainvest took me on. They only take 5% of businesses. I was so honored, so excited. And I was supposed to have 6 months, SEC regulated to run the campaign. And then they just told me when I launched a couple days before 420 that they're stopping taking investments in 30 days.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no more cannabis. They're not going to support it anymore. So I want to convince them to keep going, because I thought, I spent a lot of time and money getting the deal right because there was no one else in the state doing it. So I said, what does that look like for equity, for a micro, for this, for that? So I could have given this blueprint to other small businesses, to other, women, minorities, people, social equity candidates who could have used Mainvest to also raise funds. And now they're going to end it. And it was such a beautiful opportunity I wanted to share and have for myself a little bit longer. So it wasn't this mad dash.
Did they give you any reasons why they want to end it? Is it because they're not getting the return that they thought they were going to get, or what?
No, I would just be reading tea leaves. I have to think that anytime you do something plant touching, it raises your costs. It raises your insurance liabilities, all that. I would have to think maybe the return they're not getting is not worth the extra expense, would be my only, but there could be a million reasons.
Which is to me pretty ridiculous, because we have not even scratched the surface of cannabis in America and the world. I mean, and it's only a matter of, unfortunately, and I hate to say it in such a negative way, but there's just a few old bastards that got to die off, and things will get to normal. I'm so sorry to say it that way, but we've got a generation that's holding on with their fingernails on the rooftops, trying to say no, but their the nails are going to break and they drop it. So once they're gone, I think this is going to open up, and especially over the next 5 to 10 years, I think it's 5 years at least, it's going to open up in such a big way that those who are turning down investing in will be shooting themselves in the foot for not having invested in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have the CEO's cell phone. I should hop on the phone. But, before I asked him the who, what, why, I said, let me try blow this campaign out of the water and just make it do so well that he feels foolish discontinuing it, because I want it to go that well. So I've been, using resources I can to try to hop on, spread the word, of course, to fund my own business so I can open quicker. But I mean, we could open either way, but it would be able to expand our operations.
You got another 30 days. So go ahead and do that plug right now. Say whatever you need to say to anybody who's listening right now. What do they need to know? Tell them where to go, how to do it, how to invest in you, how to get a little piece. Come on.
Okay. So if you're watching this before or listening to before May 31st of 2024, my campaign is still live at mainvest.com. That's MAINVEST.com. The name of my company is Green Alchemy. It is not Blazin Bakery, but if you search Green Alchemy, green the color, and then Alchemy, ALCHEMY, it will come up. And we are trying to raise $600,000. We've been up about a week. We're up over 50 already, so it's off to a great start. It's an equity offering starting at just $500. Now, if you're listening to it after that date, our campaign may very well be closed, but you can still find any available information. If we get picked up by a new platform, or if you are a accredited investor, you could check out sellreallyhigh.com, sellreallyhigh.com, and all the information would be there as well. And that's high, HIGH. Okay.
Sure, absolutely. So I'll make sure all of our viewers, and we
Thank
have a lot of them here at Let's Be Blunt, come on, you got an opportunity to get in the cannabis space and you never knew how you could do it. Bing, this is a way to do it. Do it very quickly and do it with a person who understands the business and clearly has a track record of success. So why not jump on the horse before the horse gets out the gate? Yeah, yeah, you know what I mean? Okay. So, but you do so much more than just your own personal business venture. I mean, you've been involved in legislation. You're advocating for small businesses all over New Jersey in the cannabis space. And you actually co-authored the New Jersey's 2019 medical marijuana bill, the Jake Honig's law. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was a great opportunity because the governor at the time wanted to first expand the medical program before talking about adult use. And for a long time, New Jersey had 6 vertically integrated operators for almost a decade that were just just a complete monopoly. Our program was faltering, it wasn't serving patients. So the medical expansion was a great piece, but we knew there was a long game of full legalization. So within that, we started taking items that would kind of set the pace to help the program, help patients in the short term, and then also set the stage for because I what they opened up was just 6 more licenses. So then we only had 12 for another few years, and they were all MSOs. So I said we got to start setting the stage for diverse licenses, other types of opportunities. We're not serving patients in a state of 9 million with 12 buildings. There's for 9 million people, 12, but for every 3,000 people, you could have a liquor store. So it was wildly underserved. And the legislation was great. We went all around the state talking to different people in the assembly and Senate. And it was really a campaign of education because the things that people believed almost blew my mind. One thing someone told me was said to her, they asked where they're going to put the needles. Like they were still thinking you were injecting cannabis. It was just such a like, oh wow, like you were saying, people have to die off. You're like, so you hear all the tropes, gateway drug, not in my backyard, and it really was just a lot of that. And then there was disheartening things like people you would be like, hey, I smoke cannabis, I love cannabis, but my base will never go for it. Well, that's not an answer because we got this ballot across the line with over 60% support, bipartisan across age, gender, political affiliation, everything. It was universally supported. So that was a cop out by some people, but as a whole, it was really positive. And there's so many great medical stories, inspiring tales that. And really, what I feel changes minds is not so much when I sit there and continue just talking about what I believe, but if just one person in your family or friend circle that you trust vouches for cannabis, then people fall in line as well.
So tell me about the law itself. Tell me a story about the young man that the law was based on.
So, Jake Honig, who has since passed away, was having a lot of medical issues, and was his parents. The only thing that was helping him was access to cannabis, and his parents were not able to get that access in New Jersey. And what really then helped other legislators who would say, "Oh, I have a friend with cancer. I have a friend with I was only approved for a very limited amount of disorders. I believe it was cancer, MS, epilepsy, HIV, and like 2 other things back then. It was very, very narrow program. You couldn't go in and say, oh, I have anxiety, I have depression, things like that. So one of the things that was important to include was to open up this program to people who have needs outside of, it was almost exclusively things that were either debilitating, terminal, like just, I mean, I'm epileptic. I even went in and I didn't qualify because I haven't had a seizure in 20 years and my medicine controls it. And they said, well, if you are controlled by pharmaceuticals, then you don't qualify for cannabis. It's a last line of defense. So I would have to take every epilepsy drug and have them all fail before they would prescribe me a
Wow.
medical marijuana card. Where yeah, the medication I've been on since I'm a child has side effects of I had to get blood tests every month as a kid to check for liver damage. Like it's serious medication.
Yeah, I've
And
had a family member who's had to go through that themselves also, and it's people don't understand the extent of what you have to do to control your seizures and to maintain. So I really feel for you and understand.
Thank you. And like I said, I'm 20 years seizure free. I'm very blessed for that. But for those less fortunate, and especially for a child, like whatever happened to me has happened at this point. But let's say we're past this on genetically, I would want to try CBD as a first line of defense. You know, it's something our body was designed to take. It's, you know, non harmful, non psychoactive. So, but they're not even giving an opportunity for that until you've gone through a million pills. So that was something personally that really motivated me to want to improve the program. And then with epilepsy, so one thing we have is blanking Epidiolex.
Yeah,
Blanking on
well, yeah, but the Epidiolex is again, you know, it just blows my mind that they can get away with charging what they're charging for that drug.
charging, and it's only approved for two type of epilepsies, and there's tons of them. And what works for one person doesn't work for the other. It's, you know,
Absolutely.
these strains are so specific. What I was talking about before, creating targeted formulations for targeted ailments, and the fact that our program is going to say like, oh, we have 12 stores, and let's say they each have 2 or 3 strains each. Some of them are the same that might work for epilepsy. That's not a program. You know, that's a dartboard. Well, I wonder if they'll have my life-saving medicine this month. So it's, yeah, it was a lot of things like that. And then another thing I really was excited that we got into the law was I never became a patient, not just because I wouldn't have qualified, I would have later, but you had to give a lot of rights away because of it still being federally illegal. Like if you went into a hospital emergency room and needed an organ if you were dying and you were a medical marijuana patient, they had no hospital code for that. And they would just put you down as a substance user. And if you were a substance user, it would knock you out of being able to get an organ. And that was insane to me. So that was something we got in the bill. And I was very excited we got to do that because you know, so there's some things where you're like, all right, gun ownership, you should be able to own a gun if you want. And that is something else that a cannabis medical marijuana card knocks you out of. You know, there's not other medications that are on the question. A
Oh yeah,
million medications.
you could get Oxycontin, Vicodin, doesn't matter, run around all day long. And it's still
Yeah.
buy a gun, but you can't use it for cannabis. Yeah.
Yeah. And so regardless of what anyone's views are on, you know, guns or anything like that, being a patient of any kind shouldn't cost you any rights. That's just not, that's something I feel. So, yeah, the program had a lot to be improved on. We got almost everything we asked for. Something that's still a standout is you can't have cannabis in a hospital. So if you go to an emergency room and that's what you're using, and now you're admitted to a hospital for any significant period of time, you're either sneaking in cannabis or you're cut off from it. And now you have to decide, well, am I going to take the drugs they're giving me too and do this? So that's still pretty ridiculous too, especially when someone's using it for, you know, something like seizure control. Now, what I'm using my cannabis under the sheets while the nurse hands me pills. So
Sure.
yeah, that's but the medical, I've stepped away from the medical a little bit since because the adult use program was just so exciting. I really wanted to get that off the ground
Well,
because
let's start with that. So now you have a legal adult use program in a state. So can you go to an emergency room and say, I don't have to walk in an emergency room and say I had a beer yesterday?
go to emergency room and say what?
Well, you know what I'm saying? I don't have to go to an emergency room and say, oh, I had a beer at lunch.
No,
Right? So
no,
if it's
but
adult use and it's legal in the States, I shouldn't have to say to anybody what I'm doing. If it's adult use, right?
no, but you can't say I don't want the oxy. I'm just going to drink a beer.
Got it.
So if you want to actually be part of your treatment, that's a problem.
Gotcha. Crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk a little bit more because every state is a little different. Can you go into a little bit of the differences that are happening in New Jersey?
Um. Yeah. So what are we doing right and what are we doing wrong?
Yeah.
I would say the expansion was the biggest problem of how long it's taken us to expand product diversity and to small businesses. And that is just starting to turn around now. So I'm very excited to see the next 6 months to a year because we finally are having independent extractors and manufacturers and growers come online. And that's really just going to shake up the market a lot.
And you don't have testing in New Jersey, right? Is that a requirement? Is testing a requirement?
It's a requirement and we do. So
Okay.
this is kind of cool. For a while, we just had like police labs doing it and they were wildly back up. I was at an MSO who was giving me a tour of their facility, and they had just shelves of clear garbage bags filled with gummies, and they were all just slotted to be destroyed because we had very short expirations at that point, and the labs were backed up. So by the time they came back from testing, they had to be destroyed. So that's been corrected through, like I said, I work with NJCBA, so we have good relationships with the CRC legislators. We submit white sheets and things, and we're constantly in contact with, the bigger MSOs down to the smaller operators. What in the program needs improvement. So we did get expiration dates extended, which was really good, and we do have testing labs now, and we even have a woman-owned one, which is I think one of the only ones on the East Coast who's doing great. So testing has improved greatly. If I had to pick the biggest problem with our market right now, it would be price. Rosin, which I'm going to extract, which is a premium product, is going for $180 a gram, which is absurd.
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 Completely unattainable. And then I have out-of-state people come and say, you have the hottest market in the country. Oh, everyone's so excited to get here. This is the best. I was like, we have the most expensive market in the country. Yes, from a business perspective, it's profitable, but from a consumer or patient perspective, it's extortion. Fine to have healthy margins, but this is ridiculous. So it's nothing to be proud of to have the most expensive cannabis in the country. And I'd like to see it get down to something that opens up affordability to a larger audience. I mean, I don't know who's spending that much on.
Which must be driving your black market in New Jersey, right through the sky. I mean, right?
Yeah. And you say you want to get people into away from the legacy of your black market and into legit dispensaries. But, well, how are you going to do that when they can get, and a lot of times better product, like some of the product in it's mid, it's average, but you can get someone who makes like fire product for half, a quarter of the cost and comes to your house. Why are you going to go into a dispensary? So I see that argument, and I hate that as someone who's making a license. I would love to take whoever's selling it to you and say, hey, would you like to make a cannabis product? I'd love to manufacture it for you. And then B, have that in a licensed, regulated place where it's tested for, mold, contaminants, it's dosed properly and sold, and tax goes to social equity causes. And I mean, it would just be so much better instead of just feeding this machine that has had so much evil for so long, and now is legalized, and there's no more reason. You could still get arrested for selling on the black or legacy market, and it would be nice if we could just bring around people now. So
sure. Well, talk a little bit about the association that you put together, or the New Jersey Cannabis Business Association. I know you've maybe talk a little bit about the services that you offer and things like that, so that people who wanted to get information and want to come out of the dark and into the light, may learn some things. And where could they go? So throw out some stats and stuff like that for me.
Yeah, so it's the New Jersey Cannabis Business Association, for short, NJCBA. And we have been around. We're the state's first trade organization. I was not a founding member, but I have been with them since for 4 years now. So we do a monthly networking event, which is a great place if you're just kind of kicking the tires in the cannabis industry, to go out and meet other license holders, entrepreneurs, sometimes just enthusiasts. But like I try to make almost everyone, and most of the board members do. So you're immediately going to have access to people who are very well educated, influential in the space. And there's all different levels of membership. If you just want to go to the networking events, then you can just join as a grassroots member. Come by anytime. You get our newsletter. It keeps you up on kind of the latest cannabis updates, trends. And then it scales up from there for different participation levels. If you want exposure, sponsorships, things like that, up into, board seats. And I've just started with our vice president there, the manufacturing committee. So that is something that's important to me, because there's a couple trade groups. We're kind of seen as the more independent focused one. There's a cannabis trade group that is almost exclusively MSOs, and they have kind of a different focus than we do. We have a couple MSOs at ours too, But we also have a more affordable baseline membership, a more diverse network, and we put our energy into that a bit more. So I love that. I mean, I'm that's just kind of what I what I'm passionate
So
about
if
is
people
helping.
wanted to reach out to that association, where would they go?
NewJerseyCannabisbusiness.com.
.com. Okay. All right. And one of my little guys going nuts, but before we're almost out of time. Anything else you want to add?
Um, Anything else I want to add? I think that's it. It's also any small brand. I get a lot of people who come up to me at these conferences who want to make product. I want to make products for everyone. Not just large businesses, not just out of state, not established brands. Anyone who comes to me with, an idea, a dream, I want to help make their products. Especially, supporting a more diverse marketplace, people who wouldn't have that opportunity normally. I would encourage them. I want to have turnkey solutions where if you don't have the most unique idea, or you do have a unique idea, but it costs more money, let's get you on the market. Let's get you into dispensary shelves. Let's offer a more turnkey solution that I can group with other purchases. So I want to offer creative solutions to everyone. So you can reach out to me on social media everywhere. I'm Blazin Bakery, or I am Taramisu, IAMTARAMISU. And let's talk about products. I really just want to take everyone who wants to go to market, try to make their dreams happen.
Super. Well, Tara, thank you so much for being a part of the show today. Anytime you want to come back and chop it up a little bit, love to have you back. Okay.
Thank you so much, Montel. This was fantastic. I loved it.
Absolutely. And, you stay well. I mean, I know, this is going to be, well, I can't let you go without asking you the question, though. What do you think of what the, DEA is claiming they're going to do, and we don't know when this is going to happen? What do you think this is going to happen once they reschedule down to 3? Now, I understand that there's a big push going on to get them to consider to deschedule completely before they make that move to reschedule. But what are your views on rescheduling?
I've been thinking about this a lot the past couple days, and I haven't settled on something yet. I think it will help. I think it will help with a lot of things, but I don't think it's some great miracle that we're going to have. I think descheduling would have been a much bigger conversation.
I'm with you. I was having a conversation with somebody in the industry yesterday. We were like, I was really scratching and saying, be careful what you ask for, because this rescheduling is not going to be the panacea that we think. It may help with banking when it comes to now I would consider anything that was pre-DEA decision the legacy market. That's a weird statement to make, but if they reschedule, who this comes under control of? FDA comes under control of them. Who's going to jump in first? Big Pharma. And Big Pharma is the guys who have said, no, 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 we hate cannabis. Why would I buy cannabis from a company who said it didn't work? Just drives me nuts. That's A. But then B, when they reschedule, does that supersede what we consider a recommendation and now force everybody to have a prescription? And if they wanted to, does that step in and say, no, there's no such thing as a dispensary. There's only such things as pharmacies. So we got quagmire getting ready to open up. And I think people don't understand. The maelstrom hits the ground, it's going to be like some of the worst tornado effect. It could have the worst tornado effect of anything in this business since allowing for states to regulate themselves.
Yeah, that's been a whirlwind. I mean, I talk to a attorney almost every day for something, so I feel like the attorneys usually dig in and really kind of do the red strings of how it's going to affect certain industries and what people could do legally now and what the downfall will be of that. So I feel like that's something I'm going to see play out slowly, and it's probably going to come down to a lot of legal loopholes and things.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we're going to see what may be affected first will be banking and the ability to process finances, which is going to help this industry, no question. However, I'm telling you, I'm a little afraid of what the end game can be from the federal standpoint. Because if these guys decide to be the buttheads that they normally are, then that is Doctors can no longer write recommendations. Doctors have to write prescriptions. And then if they have to write a prescription, the prescription can't be filled at a dispensary, has to be filled at a pharmacy. And therefore, pharmacists are going to have to say that they're willing to carry your product, but then I'm not going to carry your product unless it's FDA approved. So then those people are, it's like, it just goes on and on and on and on and on, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be a lot. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Okay.
Hopefully
Well,
it's not too detrimental to any small guys and the people who aren't pharma.
oh yeah, I think the small guys are getting ready to get smacked upside the head in a way that they never were. And then, I don't want the big pharmaceutical companies to think that, oh yay, they're going to open the door for us. I would not buy, if Eli Lilly was selling a marijuana product tomorrow, I wouldn't buy it from here for the next 40 years. Because until I know everybody who was there who said marijuana is a gateway in the national, until they all die off, I don't want any part of you. You know what I'm saying? So now what it's going to do, it's going to drive the entire industry back underground, and the black and gray market is going to boom like crazy.
It's almost like let's put it in the hands of the tobacco industry, and I'm sure they won't do anything wrong.
Yeah, they won't do anything wrong for sure. Well, look, it was a great conversation. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today. I'd love to have you back. Think about it in the future. If there's something that comes up that you want to talk about, just send us a note, and we'd love to get you back on, okay?
All right. Thank you so much. This was amazing.
I really appreciate it. You take care of yourself. And for all of you out there, you got to do, stay frosty. Of course, you can share this little podcast with everybody you know and let them know that we're talking about good stuff here. And, also, make sure you stay educated, keep yourself informed, and we'll see you on the next Let's Be Blunt with Montel. Thanks for joining me on Let's Be Blunt with Montel. Please make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell to be notified when new episodes post each week. We'd love to hear your feedback also, so please send us your comments.